Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel here. We are ready for some more NFL videos. We're going to bring some predictions. I know a couple days ago I uploaded the Madden simulations. I think we're going to do some more Madden simulations. My son wasn't available to do it. Do the video with me. I think we're going to bring the PlayStation up here to my office, and so we can plug it in here, so we can go live as well, and do it with the camera on as well. So haven't figured that out how to do the PlayStation. I know you can. I'm just not smart enough to know how. So, but we'll figure something out. Anyway, so we're going to get into the predictions for Super Wildcard Weekend. As you can see, if you don't already know, I am a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I try not to let my bias come into play. I'm not going to promise you that it's not going to, though, because I am human, and there are teams that I love, like my Chiefs, and there are teams that I don't love, like the Buffalo Bills. so, and I didn't care about Buffalo until before 2020. I mean, I don't know. So if you're a Bills fan and watching this, give me some grief in the comment section below. But I think you guys are nuts. I really do. I think you're crazy, jumping off cars and breaking tables and whatever. You guys are crazy. But yeah, the Bills are definitely very, very good, and a team that I hope the Chiefs don't have to play on their way to the Super Bowl. So if I had my way, I would prefer the Chiefs to play the Dolphins in the second round, and then the Ravens in the AFC Championship games. But I don't think that's going to happen as we talk about the matchups here. So I'm going to switch it over here to the other screen here. We're going to talk about these matchups, and then we're going to fill out the bracket here. So this is the same bracket that I did last year. We'll pick the seeds, and we'll see how they go along, and then we'll talk about kind of what the rest of the playoffs. So I will go ahead and give my prediction for the divisional round and the championship round and the Super Bowl. But like I did last year in my videos, I will modify those as the weeks go on. So I mean, it's no sense of like let's say I predict the Vikings go to the NFC Championship game and they lose tomorrow. There's no reason that I'm gonna next week say, well, I predicted them. I will revise my prediction and say who I think is gonna win the matchups next weekend too. I will take it as a loss. I will keep track of my record though, just like I did last year. So okay, first game of the weekend is the San Francisco 49ers meeting up against the Seattle Seahawks. This game is going to take place in San Francisco. San Francisco is the 2 seed. So again, back to the old thing of, the 2 versus the 7. Seattle started this year off really, really strong. Geno Smith, I would say for probably half of the season or maybe a little more, was an MVP candidate. I wouldn't be surprised with the new way that they're doing the voting for MVP that he may still get some MVP votes, because used to be you would just submit one name, and now you submit 5. You rank them 1 through 5. So I imagine there's going to be some people that are going to give Geno Smith probably some 4th and 5th place votes. So we'll talk about MVP race later. Maybe not in this video, maybe in another video. But the 49ers, they are really probably one of the most complete teams in football. They've got a tremendous cast of offensive players. And I being in Kansas City, I don't see the 49ers play all that much. I watch their highlights. I follow various folks on YouTube that talk about from the national scene. And one of the things that I found was interesting, I know Deebo Samuel had been out for a couple weeks, and he's not even their leading wide receiver this year. It's Brandon Ayuk who is their leading wide receiver. Christian McCaffrey, who they got in a trade from Carolina, I think it was week. Let's see, it was week 7, I believe. Yeah, because it was the week after, or week 8. Maybe it was week 8. I don't know. It was somewhere around there. I know it was when they played the Chiefs and they lost to the Chiefs. But McCaffrey is their leading rusher as well. the big story out there is Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, who's their quarterback now, who has been playing at a Pro Bowl level since taking over for Jimmy Garoppolo after Garoppolo went out with the injury. There's a lot of praise going around for Brock Purdy, and in that offensive scheme that that he's playing in, it allows him to be very successful. How successful is he going to be in the playoffs? I mean, the playoffs are a different animal. You're facing the best teams, even though Seattle's not. They're not as good as San Francisco. Seattle's still a solid football team. And even though the San Francisco 49ers swept Seattle this year, because they play in the same division, I don't think that you can just count that as like, well, this is going to be an easy matchup for San Francisco. There's something to be said about playoff experience, and Brock Purdy is going to be kind of get a baptism by fire, this weekend. So they are going to be the first game of the weekend. It's going to take place about 25 hours from now. It says as you can see here, it says 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, 3:30 Central, and that's where I'm at. I'm in Central Time Zone, 3:30. So about 25 hours from now, because it's 2:30 here on a Friday. With Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell both coming back from injury for the 49ers, they have everybody back. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's ready to go. This is going to be this is a game where the 49ers should win and should win comfortably. They're 9.5-point favorites. Over under, I think, was set at 42 or 43. I think it was 42 was the over under on this game. Does it say here on the? No, it doesn't say. So one of the things that when you look at that betting line of 9.5, let's go back and let's see here. I guess I can. We're going to do this on the fly here. There, full schedule. Let's see, they will beat the Seahawks by 20 in week 2. And then they beat them by 8. So they had a comfortable win and then a not so comfortable win. So, and the week 15 game was obviously with Brock Purdy. The week 2 game was with Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback. So I'm picking the San Francisco 49ers to win this game. I think the game's going to be closer than people think, and I think Seattle really has a chance here to make it close. Their strong safety Ryan Neal is back after missing 3 weeks. And he had that pretty intense quote about how he's blank and ready to come back. The one thing I would caution, and I really hope this is not the case for this matchup, but the referee crew, it's being refereed by what was that guy's name? It wasn't Cheffers, it was Alex Kemp. Alex Kemp's crew actually throws more flags per game than Carl Cheffers does, and they're going to be officiating this game. Lots of flags, lots of ticky-tack things. So I kind of hope, you kind of hope in the playoffs to just let the teams play. And I'm a big believer of, the officials should, call penalties as they are, that if it's a penalty, call it. But if it doesn't impact the play, I would tend to swallow the whistle. That's kind of my belief on that whole thing. So San Francisco, Seattle, Geno Smith, like I said, was a potential MVP candidate earlier in the year, not so much now, but he's got talented wide receivers. He's got he's got a good offensive line. He set a Seattle record for passing yardage in a season. Even in his 30s now, he kind of revitalized his career. He's probably going to play for another 6-7 years now into his 30s. Probably won't be, he'll probably take a step back each year, probably a slow regression. But I was really happy to see him as someone who was, a first round draft pick, and I think he was a first round draft pick. I know that there was a lot of talk about the Chiefs potentially drafting him, and they went with Eric Fisher instead. Or was it? Wait. Was that the same draft? I can't remember. I don't exactly remember what year he was drafted. Um, but regardless, San Francisco 9.5 point favorite. Um, I think San Francisco's going to win, but I do think Seattle's going to cover in this game. Give me San Francisco 27, Seattle 23. I do think that they're going to cover the 9.5 points. So let's go ahead and move the 49ers on to the second round. All right, second game of the day. This is the game that I think a lot of people are really, really looking forward to because it's probably two evenly matched teams. You got an up and coming team in Jacksonville, and there's a lot of people excited to see the Chargers and Justin Herbert play in his first NFL playoff game. And at the same time, you've got Lawrence, who's going to be in his first NFL playoff game too. So two highly inexperienced teams as it comes to the playoffs. This is a game that the Chargers have the better record, but the Jaguars, who won their division, so they get the home game. The Chargers are a scary team. They have a lot of offensive weapons. Austin Eckler is one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL, but Brandon Staley, their head coach, is an absolute buffoon. And honestly, if I was a Chargers fan, I would be all for starting the discussions of letting him go, because this is a guy that the Chargers had the number 5 seed locked in. There was no way they could change it. They were going to be the 5 seed regardless. And he played all of his starters in week 18, and that came back to bite him, because now Joey Bosa is going to play in the wild card game against the Jaguars, but he's not 100%. But he lost Mike Williams again. Mike Williams, who's made out of glass anyway. If you know your receiver is made out of glass, like Mike Williams is, and he's one of the most talented receivers on your team, even though he's very injury prone, you gotta really treat him carefully. And that's not what Staley did. He ran him out there, and he got hurt towards the end of the game. I believe it was towards the end of the game that he limped off, and I think he was carted off. He has been ruled out. He has a non-surgical stress fracture in his back. Come on, Staley. What are you doing, man? So that's one less target now that Justin Herbert's going to have to throw to. The Chargers are favored in this game by 2.5. Over-under set at 47 points. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get to that number. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence has been struggling with a toe injury for about 3 or 4 weeks as well. And I'm wondering if maybe that's limited him a little bit on the offensive side. They really struggled with the Titans last week, but a lot of teams struggle with the Titans. The Titans make games into rock fights, but they were able to get the job done thanks to their defense towards the end of that game. One of their the really only concern, other than just the toe injury to Lawrence, which he's been dealing with, so he's obviously going to play. Jamal Agnew is questionable as well. Jamal Agnew is a second, third string wide receiver, but he's their primary return man too. Something to keep an eye on. Special teams outside of the kick game, kicking field goals and punting, special teams doesn't get a lot of attention anymore, other than obviously seeing the Bills last week return 2 kickoffs for touchdowns against the Patriots, which was the deciding factor in that game, by the way. So something to kind of watch to see how they handle that. I don't think that that's going to come into a play that much. I think when it's going to come down to is, can the Chargers get out of their own way? Do the Chargers have enough in the tank on a short week, because they played on Sunday? Do they have enough to go across country to play Saturday? Now they are playing Saturday night, but still they're playing Saturday, so it's one less day of practice. And go 3,000 miles across the country to play Jacksonville, who is a up and coming and hungry team. So I've gone back and forth in my mind on what do I do with this game. I believe when I did the Madden simulations, I think no, I think it was 7-3. I think it was 7-3 in favor of the Chargers, if I remember right. I have to go back and watch it, um, but in real life, this is a very close. This is a very close matchup. I have to lean towards the Chargers though. The Even though I don't want to, I really think the Jaguars probably are going to. Here, this is just me being conflicted with myself. I think the Jaguars are going to win, but I think the Chargers. If you rolled the dice, if you'd like this, I think they would win more often than not. The Chargers just do enough to lose games, and they played their starters last week for the entire game, and they lost to the Broncos. So what does that tell you? So maybe I'm overthinking this. I will say that Jacksonville's defense is not that good, and I mean they're serviceable, but this could definitely be one of those games where it just becomes just super sloppy and especially with teams, these two quarterbacks that have never played in the playoffs before. If you remember back to 2019, the year that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, in the wild card round, the Buffalo Bills. So this was Josh Allen's first foray into the playoffs. They were facing the Houston Texans uh, against Watson. And that was the year that the Texans were really good. They were the 4 seed, and the Bills went on the road. And it was just an awful, awful game. Watson played like garbage. Josh Allen looked absolutely horrible. Both teams they tried to give the game away, both teams. And that was both of them, that was their first playoff game they had ever played in. I see this game in a very similar fashion. So because of that, I think the home team probably has the edge. I said earlier that I think the Chargers probably had the edge, but I'm going to lean with Jacksonville though. I'm going to go with the Jags to win a very ugly game. I'm going to say Jacksonville 21. I'm going to say 21-20. I'm going to say a 1-point game. Jacksonville wins outright. Okay. Next game on the slate is on Sunday. Super Wildcard Weekend moves to Sunday at noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern. The Buffalo Bills hosting the Miami Dolphins. This is a game that we've seen twice earlier this year. Both times have been really, really fantastic games with the home team winning each game. Obviously, they split the series, but that was with Tua playing in both of those games for the Dolphins. Tua is out. Teddy Bridgewater, his backup, is also out. It's going to be Skylar Thompson, the K-State Wildcat. So he's known well here in the Kansas City area, as K-State is one of the 3 local Division I schools here in the area. K-State, KU, and Mizzou. So Skylar Thompson's got a lot of fans here in Kansas City, and hey, he's going to have me as a fan on Sunday as well, because I'm going to be pulling like crazy for the Dolphins to beat the Bills. I don't like the Bills. I hope the Bills lose. Does that make me a bad fan? No, it makes me a fan. That's who I am. I don't want the Bills to win because they're a really, really good team, and the best way for my team, the Chiefs, to win the Super Bowl is to not play the Buffalo Bills. So. Or the Cincinnati Bengals, for that matter. But this game is the largest spread of the weekend. Bills are 13-point favorites. It's gone back and forth. I've seen it as low as 10.5. I saw it as high as 14.5. It's 13 right now. This is Buffalo is riding a wave of emotion, in the wake of the Damar Hamlin injury, and thankfully Damar Hamlin has returned home. He's out of the hospital. Everything seems to be going, in a really positive direction for him. Obviously, not going to play anymore this year. Whether he plays football again, that remains to be seen. But the health of him is incredibly important. I'm not going to talk about the decision not to play the game against the Bengals and all this stuff. That's in the past now. We've moved forward, and the Bills are the 2 seed because that game wasn't completed. Could have been the 1 seed if they had won that game and played it, but they chose not to, and so these are the consequences that come with that, the unintended consequences. Well, not unintended consequences. It's in the rule book. You that's what happens. They're lucky they weren't forced to forfeit the game. If that would have happened, they would have been the 3 seed. As for this game, they're going to go up against an officiating crew, Brad Allen's crew, that throws the 3rd most flags. Miami is the most penalized team in the league. Buffalo also draws the most, or the 2nd most, defensive holding calls in the league, and this crew throws the most flags for defensive holding. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the defenses, who are both very aggressive, very handsy, how the officials are going to call this game. I think the only way for Miami to win this game is to slow it down and run like a wildcat offense with Skylar Thompson and just hope and pray that Josh Allen has one of his on his, because Josh Allen a lot of times is a roller coaster. He's got the highest of highs, he's got the lowest of lows for his games, and just hope that he comes out and he's flat and he gets the lowest of the lows. I mean, Josh Allen didn't play particularly well last week against the Patriots, but he had 2 unbelievable touchdown passes that were just, unscripted Josh Allen plays. I don't know how else to describe. They were absolutely incredible throws, just absolute bombs that he threw like a seed to his receivers, and I don't know how he does it. He's got an incredible arm, his arm talent is off the charts. And because of that, I don't see him in the playoffs playing my Chiefs. Miami doesn't have much of a shot in this game. They've Weddle and Hill are both going to play. They've got good skill players. If Skylar Thompson can just forget that he's Skylar Thompson, maybe they have a chance. I'm not going to predict it. I see a path. If you play the game 10 times, I think Skylar Thompson plays a close game twice. And I think they get blown out 8 times. I still think the Bills win all 10. But you never know. If you can keep the game close, it is possible that, the ball could bounce a certain way. I mean, look at the game against the Bills played against the Vikings earlier this year. The Bills had that game in the bag. They were going to win. All they had to do, because they couldn't kneel down on the half-inch line, they had to run the ball forward, and Josh Allen fumbled the ball right back to the Vikings. And just in an unbelievable turn of events, that one of the craziest games of the season, the Bills shouldn't have lost that game. And it was like a 1 in a million chance for them to lose that game under those circumstances. It's going to take a similar type thing for the Dolphins to beat the Bills in this kind of game, and plus playing in Buffalo, with Miami playing on the road in Buffalo, it's going to be a difficult task for them, not only to win the game, but to keep the game close. The Bills at -13 or -13, 13-point favorites here. I think the Bills win and cover. I could see a scenario where Miami gets a late score and cuts the lead to 10 or something like that. But I think Buffalo's going to cover. I'm going to say Buffalo 38-21. I think they're going to win by 17, something like that. So 38-21. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. Let's see. Did I get the... Yeah, I put the Chargers there. So we're going to advance the Bills to the second round there. And this is obviously, Bills won't play the Jags here unless we pick the Ravens. So this will fix itself here in just a second, depending upon how we pick. All right, next game of the weekend. The Minnesota Vikings are at home taking on the New York Giants. Minnesota 3-point favorites in this game, over under 48 points. So 3 point favorite for Minnesota at home. That's essentially means this game is a pick 'em. So I really think that Minnesota has a lot of problems. Um, they have a negative point differential. They are -3 on point differential this year, and they have won so many close games. They have been very fortunate. The ball has bounced their way. Lady Luck, the luck of the Irish, has been on Minnesota's side all year long. Typically, over the course of a season, those things even out over time. But sometimes in an NFL season, with with so few games, compared to like something like Major League Baseball, sometimes that luck doesn't even out over the course of a season. Sometimes it doesn't catch up to you until next year, which is kind of like what we saw with the Raiders this year. They were a little more fortunate last year than they were this year, and they had really the reverse record. Well, they were 10-7 last year and 6-11 this year. Anyway, this is not about the Raiders. The Giants started off really well. One thing I don't know too much about the Giants. I had to look up some of this stuff before I made this video. But Daniel Jones is he's like throws the fewest amount of interceptions per attempt. He's like less than 1% interceptions per attempt. So for the lowest of all the starters in the playoffs by far. Really takes care of the football. He's rushed for over 700 yards, 750 yards or so that he's ran for on the ground. I mean, this is like unheard of here in this parts of the country here in Kansas City. He's kind of had a Josh Allen type season, without maybe not the passing numbers, but he runs the ball just as much as Allen does, or just as much as like Lamar Jackson did when he was healthy, and Daniel Jones is taking care of the ball. They run a fairly conservative offense there in New York. They don't have a ton of talent. Obviously Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the NFL. This type of offense doesn't typically win or go very far in the playoffs. They can usually win in the first couple of rounds, though, maybe in the wild card rounds. The thing about Minnesota is you just don't know what you're going to get. If it's a close game, they tend to pull these games out, and I don't know why. Because Kirk Cousins, I don't understand Kirk Cousins. When I watch Kirk Cousins play, it's one of those things. I'm like, how is this guy successful? I mean, his arm strength is average at best. He's not incredibly accurate, but somehow he just finds ways to get the job done and get wins. It's incredibly unorthodox. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. This is the game that a lot of people are picking as an upset. A lot of people are picking the Giants to win this game. Of course, with only being 3-point underdogs, it's not that much of an upset if they win. But Brian Daboll there's some talk about him potentially being coach of the year. I still don't think a team that's 9-7-1 should be considered their coach for coach of the year. But last year the Giants, I think, what did they win? 2 games? I think they actually ended up winning 3 games, but they were just awful last year. I'm not sure how they won those games because they were terrible. And I thought Daniel Jones was on his way out of New York, and he's turned it around and had a very fine season. So maybe Daniel Jones does have a future in the NFL here. I've been going with mostly the favorites here so far in these predictions. I am going to pick the Giants to upset the Vikings. I don't see it with Minnesota. I think they're a fraud of a team. Their record is overinflated. Their point differential shows that they should be 7-10 or 8-9, and that would not have made the playoffs. So give me the Giants here. Give me a higher scoring game than you would think with the Giants. And we're gonna go 28. We're gonna go 28-24 Giants over the Vikings. And then the Sunday night game, we got the Ravens and the Bengals. Ravens and Bengals. This is the second biggest spread of the opening weekend. Bengals 9.5-point favorites, over under fairly low at 40.5. Set it over on the over under. I think that the Bengals should win this game easily. They just played the two teams played each other. Now they split in the regular season. The Bengals did look a little disheveled last weekend. And when I say when they looked disheveled, they they looked almost bored. And I think that, knowing that the Chiefs had already won and knowing that they had no opportunity, to come back and, force a neutral site game with the Chiefs. Now they did come out. I believe they came out and actually started hot, but then they kind of trailed off there, and it kind of became an ugly sort of game. A lot of this game, what's going to happen in this game is it's going to come down to the offensive line of Cincinnati again, and they are missing their right tackle, and I believe their right guard is also may not play in the game as well. So Cincinnati has a lot of problems on the offensive line with protecting Joe Burrow. Burrow holds the ball very long. He's always looking for the big play with those very talented trio of wide receivers that he has. I don't think Baltimore has enough to win this game, at least not now. If Lamar Jackson was playing, I think that they could win. As a matter of fact, I may even pick them to win this game if Jackson was playing and healthy. But he's out, with the grade 2 PCL sprain, and Tyler Huntley, last I heard, was a 90% chance to go. It was going to be a game time decision. But if he doesn't go, Anthony Brown's going to play. I think Huntley gives them a shot to win the game. I think if Anthony Brown plays, I think the Bengals win this game fairly easily. When I say that Huntley gives them a shot, he gives them a puncher's chance. He's not the same type of player that obviously Lamar Jackson is, but he's more similar to Lamar Jackson than Anthony Brown is to Lamar Jackson. The one thing that I would give pause to here is that Baltimore, since week 3, they've only allowed 13 passing touchdowns, which is the third fewest in the league during that time period. No, wait. Is that right? No, I think that's the most in the league. No, week 3. That's where I got my 3. Yeah, that's right. So only 13 touchdown passes since week 3. They have a chance. Now, their defense isn't what it used to be. The vaunted Ravens defense of yesteryears. It's not what it used to be, but I can squint, and I can see a path for them to win this game by making it into a rock fight, like I mentioned earlier about how Tennessee makes games into rock fights. If they can get something like that happening, I can see them potentially winning this game if they go that route. That being said, I think Cincinnati is incredibly talented, way too talented, even though they're dealing with some injuries. I'm going to be pulling for the Ravens to win this game because, again, like the Bills, the best way for my team to make the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, is to not play the Cincinnati Bengals, who the Chiefs have shown no ability to beat Cincinnati. When I say show no ability, I should let me walk that back a little bit. The last 3 games they played, against the Bengals, they've lost all 3 by 3 points. So by 9 points combined in 3 games. So obviously they play very, very close games. But anyway, not about the Chiefs and Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to win this game. It's going to be one of those. I think the Bengals win, but I don't think they cover. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be, the weather's probably not going to be the greatest. Either in Cincinnati. Give me Cincinnati. 23 and Baltimore 17. 23-17, a 6-point win there. So the Bengals win, but the Ravens cover. So I was really bored. That's boring. I picked all the best seeds to move on in the AFC. And the final game of Super Wild Card Weekend. is the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Tampa Bay because Tampa plays in an awful division, and even though they're 8-9, they have a home game. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because this video is already at 36 minutes. I want to talk a few things to wrap up here. As we start looking at potential matchups going forward. Dallas is 2.5-point road favorites in this game. Look, Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. Tom Brady statistically had a very fine season, but in terms of yards passing, Mike Evans is a tremendous wide receiver. Tampa Bay is a shell of itself. Tom Brady wants out of there. It's no secret. He does not get along with the coaching staff. And Tom Brady, as long as he's playing well, can continue playing and ride his own ticket. There's a lot of people talking about how Tampa's going to win this game because Dallas just doesn't play well. They're kind of a fraud of a team. And I agree. I do think Dallas is overrated. I think Dak is an incredibly overrated quarterback. Dallas hasn't won a road playoff game since the 1992 NFC Championship game when they beat Joe Montana. No, Montana wasn't. Well, it was 92. Well, it was the 91 season. That's right. And he was out 92, and then 93 he came to the Chiefs. Yeah. Or whatever. They haven't won a playoff game on the road since the NFC Championship game 1992. Whether that was the 92 season or it was 1992 calendar year, I don't know. I just know it was 1992. One of those two. You guys know what I'm talking about. Since the Giants won that game. Oh, yeah, that would have been the 91 season. That's right, because that was the year that they. Is that right? Guys, I can't remember. I have a couple notes written down here, and I wrote down 1992 NFC title game. So that's what we're going to go with. Regardless, it's been a long, long time. 30 years, 30 plus years since they won a road playoff game. Are they going to do it here? Yes, they're going to do it here. They're going to beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is not a good football team. They played in a bad division. They were fortunate to play in that division where no one else seemed to want to win until it was too late. The Saints almost came back and stole a playoff spot. Dallas is, like I said, 2.5-point favorites. Dallas is going to roll in this game. This is one of the actual blowouts I'm going to predict. I think Dallas gets up early. They keep Tampa at arm's length. I think what Tom will do, Brady will come back and make the game look more respectable. But again, it's not going to take much to cover a 2.5-point spread, but I think Dallas rolls in this game. Give me Dallas 35, Tampa 21, 14-point win. And I think it's going to be something like, 35-14 in the fourth quarter, and Tampa comes back and gets a touchdown there to pull within 2 touchdowns. And but yeah, I think it's going to be a big win for the Cowboys. They're going to be up 3 touchdowns. Probably end up winning by 2, but yeah, give me Dallas 35, Tampa 21. So we're gonna go with the Cowboys here. Okay, so what that does, that gives us text message here on my phone. I think my kids are coming home here. Okay, so what that gives us the Bills versus the Bengals in the divisional round, and the Chiefs versus the Jags. Eagles taking on the Giants, and then the Cowboys taking on the 49ers. So real quick, let's run through here. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just save it to the desktop. Okay, let me take a screenshot of it, and I'll try to see if I can. I'll save the link there. Maybe it'll save my picks as well. We'll see. But these are the picks here. So for the wild card, or for the divisional round, Bengals and Bills. Look, I was pretty sure that the Bengals were going to win that game before it got canceled. Even though this game would take place in Buffalo, I think Cincinnati is a superior team. this year than Buffalo. I think Buffalo's been fairly fortunate in some of their wins. Give me Cincinnati to move on against Buffalo. Chiefs and Jags. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. This will be a tougher game than when the Chiefs faced the Jags earlier this year. Of course, they do have the win over Jacksonville. Give me the Chiefs over the Jags. Eagles and Giants. I think the Giants can make this a sloppy game, but I do think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are going to move on to the NFC Championship game in this game. Give me the Eagles over the Giants. Niners and Cowboys. This is going to be a much closer game, I think, than people are going to than they think it will. Cowboys, again, like I said, I think they're overrated, but they do match up pretty well with San Francisco, and this would be one of those high scoring shootouts. Give me the 49ers, though, in a very close, high scoring game. In the AFC Championship game, a rematch of last year. Do you think I'm going to pick the Bengals to beat the Chiefs? Did I just do it? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to beat the Bengals. I think Patrick Mahomes is on a mission this year. Cincinnati, again, dealing with injuries to their offensive line. I think they can get by Buffalo, but they're going to expend so much energy getting by Buffalo that whoever wins this game is going to lose to the Chiefs. Even if the Bills do beat Cincinnati, which is, again, it's kind of a coin flip game. Either one of those teams is going to lose. I said this on a previous video back in, I think it was the Week 15, Week 16 previews that I was doing. Whoever gets the 1 seed in the AFC, I said I was picking to go to the Super Bowl. And at the time, I was predicting the Buffalo Bills would get that because I had them finishing ahead of the Chiefs in the standings, or tied with the Chiefs, and I had picked the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. But now that with the Chiefs getting the number 1 seed because they finished a half game ahead of Buffalo, since Buffalo didn't play the completion of that game, even though I think Cincinnati would have won that game, but we just never know. So we don't know what the result would have been. Regardless, I was very adamant that whoever was the number 1 seed was going to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, just because they don't have to play the other 2 powerhouses, or at least not both of them. So I do have the Chiefs going on here. Eagles and 49ers. I think the 49ers are the better team overall. Eagles have a better defense. And I think that people are discounting the Eagles. I think they're, with Jalen Hurts' injury, I think he's been downgraded, obviously, in the MVP race. But look, the Eagles have the most sacks of any team in NFL history this year, since they began recording sacks as a stat back in 1982. Give me the Eagles here over the 49ers. I think both teams that have the 1 seed, this is not a sexy pick, or this is not a going on a limb prediction here, predicting both number 1 seeds to go to the Super Bowl. But I think the NFL, that both leagues are top heavy this year. I think the bottom, the teams that didn't make the playoffs are trash. We got a lot of really powerful teams. We have 3 powerful teams in the AFC and 2 powerful teams in the NFC. And that's 5 teams, and 4 of those 5 are going to, obviously all 5 can't make the conference championship games, but 4 of them will. And that's the Chiefs, Bengals, and the Eagles and 49ers with the 2 1 seeds moving on. I'm trying to remember what I did last year. I know I picked the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl, which obviously they didn't. The Bengals did. No, that's right. I had them going against the Packers, but the Chiefs were the 2 seed. And I had them going up against the 1 seed Green Bay, which Green Bay lost in the championship game. No, wait, they lost in the divisional round. Is that right? They lost in the divisional round to the 49ers. That's right, because the 49ers went on to the title game against the Rams, which I had the Rams in the title game, but I did not have them in the Super Bowl. So anyway, that's my picks here. My official picks for round 1, though, as we talked about here, I've got the Jaguars over the Chargers. I have the Bengals over the Ravens. I have the Bills over the Dolphins. I have Cowboys over Buccaneers, Giants over Vikings, and the 49ers over the Seahawks. Last year, the Super Wild Card round, I went 5-1. I just missed 1 game. I thought that the Patriots would make it a close game against the Bills, and because of the weather conditions, I thought they would pull that out because I didn't think Josh Allen would play well in really, really poor conditions. and he turned out and played the most impressive game of his life against the Patriots last year in the playoffs. So that was the only game I missed in the first round last year. This year, I think I'm probably not going to go perfect, just because there's so many close games. I think I'm going to go perfect in the AFC, and I'm probably going to miss all three in the NFC. That's probably how it's going to go. So I do think that both 7 seeds have a shot. I think the Seahawks definitely have a shot to beat the 49ers. I don't think Miami has much of a chance against Buffalo, but stranger things have happened. And sometimes when you don't have a scouting report on a quarterback like Skylar Thompson, sometimes they can surprise you, and next thing you know, you've got a game on your hand. And real quick, I know this we just passed the 45-minute mark in this video. I want to cut it off here real quick, but one thing that reminded me of was when the Chiefs, back when they were really, really bad, back in the, I think it was 2011 or 2012 season, whenever they were, no, it was 2008. It was when they had Tyler Thigpen. They were running him out there. And the first game they ran him out there was against the Jets. And the Jets were really good. I think they made the AFC Championship game that year. And we were playing a game on the road. I think it was Brett Favre their quarterback that year? I think it was the 1 year Brett Favre was their quarterback. I can't remember, honestly. But I know we were playing the Jets, and we were heavy, heavy underdogs against the Jets. They were really good that year. And next thing you know, Tyler Thigpen keeps the Chiefs in the game on the road, and I think the Jets won by a field goal or maybe by a touchdown. But Tyler Thigpen played a very, very good game. And he's a very similar quarterback to what Skylar Thompson is. Skylar Thompson is a guy who looks to run. He's got an arm. He doesn't have great arm talent, but he's got enough athleticism to give the Bills pause. And if they can shorten the game, shorten the amount of possessions, you never know what could happen in this wild card round. A 7 seed has not. This will be the 4th year. Let's see, 2020, 21, 22. This is 20. The 2020 season, the 21 season. So this is the 3rd year. This is the 3rd year of the 7 seeds. The 7 seeds have not played well. Only one 7 seed has played a good game, and that was in the 2020 season. The Colts gave the Bills a really close game. So the Bills are the only 2 seed that has played a close game against the 7. Again, not very much sample. Not the sample data there is very, very low, but we'll see what happens in those games. Again, I don't think the Dolphins are going to win this game. I do think the Bills are going to win and win fairly comfortably, or at least it's not going to be not that much. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be watching just like you guys are. So. Anyway, those are my official predictions. Thanks, guys, for watching this video. We're going to come up with some more Madden simulations, talk more about the games, and going to be watching them. I'm not going to live stream. I don't have enough of an audience to do that. That'd just be a lot of work. But maybe someday when I have some more subscribers, we'll do something along those lines. Maybe next NFL playoffs, we'll do something like that. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel for more content, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.